the Climate Action Advisory Committee of the Regional Climate Protection Authority. I'm Tom Conlon, your chair, and we begin with introductions.
Neil Hancock, Katati.
Ryan Martin Dent, also Katati.
Tyler Sylvie, District 3.
Nick Thayer, District 5.
Pete Gang, Petaluma.
Tenor Shining, Sebastopol.
Jake McKenzie, Vice Chair, District 2.
And Tom Conlon representing District 3. And do we have any other members participating remotely today?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We have we have Stephanie Turk will be joining remotely using the Just Cause provision of the Brown Act. So we will ask her to keep her camera and audio on through the duration of the meeting. And then we just want to ask if there's anyone else over 18 in the room with her. I think we're in the process of promoting her.
Excellent, thank you.
I think you can right click her. Okay, sorry. May it takes a moment sometimes.
Understood.
There we go.
Okay, I see let me see if I turn my video on. Okay, there. Hi, everyone. Stephanie Turk from Healdsburg.
Thank you. And is there anyone else over 18 in the room with you?
There is not.
Okay, thank you.
Great. And then SCTA personnel?
Good morning, everybody. Anna Oliva with SCTCA. I'm the Bay Run Program Specialist.
Good morning, Tanya Narath with SCTCA.
BC Caps with SCTCA.
Chris Barney, SCTCA.
Ross Clendenin, SCTCA. Yeah, just have the public.
Very good, thank you. And now we'll go into public comment. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on a matter not on today's agenda? If not, and not seeing anyone online, I'll bring it back and close public comment and notice that Mr. Leland has just arrived. David, why don't you introduce yourself?
David Leland, representing City of Sonoma.
Great, thank you. Now we'll go on to our administrative calendar, which would be the approval of the January 16th meeting notes. Do we have any discussion or comments on that before I entertain a motion? Ryan?
Yeah, I'd like the attendance to reflect that I was present for the November 14th meeting.
The 14th, did we have that date correct? My minutes say 16th. November 14th, you said?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Noted. We will correct that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll move for adoption of the minutes of the January 16th meeting. I so move.
Second.
Pete Gang, second. I just wanted to note, I too found a couple of discrepancies in the minutes. In the table on page 3, June Brashears again had requested at last meeting that her attendance be reflected for the previous months of May and November, and today's minutes still don't have that. And then I was absent last meeting and I have a check mark in the box for last meeting for me, so that should be corrected. And then I'll note too that Kevin Conway participated remotely for the entire meeting, but did not, I don't think he was up under the Brown Act 2449.
Yeah, it was, we treated him as a member of the public. But we could still,
But I think his attendance should be reflected in our tabular manner so that at least we show, especially in the case of Santa Rosa, because there have been gaps in Santa Rosa's representation for several months now. I'd like to be sure the record reflects Kevin's attendance.
got it.
Very good. So with those, yes, and
Do you need a motion with those changes?
I would entertain a friendly amendment to the motion and second that's on the floor. I guess.
Maker of the motion will accept the friendly amendment.
And second.
And it's seconded by Pete. So that brings us to, with a quorum, we're able to vote by acclamation, I understand. So we'll go ahead and say, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Actually,
I'm sorry, Stephanie's online, so we have to have a procedural roll call vote. So I will ask for the roll call.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna have to do the whole list because I don't know who is here and who is not. So, Jane Elias,
Absent.
Kristen Morrison, Neil Hancock,
I was absent at that meeting. So abstain. Present but abstain.
Ryan Martin Dent,
Aye.
Emily Vigil, Stephanie Turk, Andy Schrader,
Stephanie Turk's online.
I'm online, but I understood I'm not allowed to vote.
You can vote online.
Okay, here I am.
So are you saying yes?
Yes,
Aye.
Aye. Pete, sorry, Andy Schrader. Sorry. Pete Gang,
Aye.
Shirley Johnson, Steve Keith,
Aye.
Kevin Conway, Steve Bertolo, Zeno Schwintink, Joshua Somni, Matt Metzler, David Leland,
Aye.
Michelle Grievous, Christopher Peck, Tom Conlon,
I was not here, but I will vote yes, because I did see the videotape. Thank you.
Tyler Sylvie,
Yes.
Jake McKenzie,
Aye.
Nick Thayer, June Brashares. That's all.
Thank you for the effort there. We'll now move on to report outs from our CAAC members by jurisdiction. And who wants to go first? Jake?
I'll go first because I have nothing to report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I have nothing to report either.
I will report from Petaluma that our climate action manager, Deb Fox, has taken over our climate action roundtables and set up working groups to work together with the city on addressing the over 100 items specifically mentioned in our blueprint for climate action. So this is just getting off the ground. There is a communications working group, a habitat working group, an energy working group, and the one that I'm most interested in, transportation, has not yet congealed, but we're working on that. And the only other thing that I would say is just a thought in the back of my head that I wonder whether we are addressing the climate crisis with an appropriate sense of urgency. What we need is we need to change the culture, and we have to find policies and actions that change the culture. That's all.
Thank you, Pete. Steve?
Reporting out for Winter Park. The only thing I have to report is, next month, between on April 16th to the 18th is a unique opportunity to visit the best bookstore, book sale, used book sale in Rohnert Park, and also save as many books as possible from the landfill. The Friends of the Library book sale is taking place between on April 16th to the 18th. Thank you.
I have a brief update on something I brought up at our last meeting, which is a new program of Permit Sonoma called Conservation Sonoma, where they are applying for a regional habitat conservation plan under the federal and state Endangered Species Acts. We did get our report on that from Permit Sonoma last night to the Lower River MAC. And after that meeting, I don't see it. The primary aim of this program seems to be to streamline permitting and not to protect endangered species. And I have a lot of concerns about its real impacts in both of those veins, but it's not active yet. It's early in the development stages, but something to watch. Second thing about the CAAC in general, I think it is important to note that everyone sitting around this room appears to be a white man. So just as we think about the climate crisis and how to change it, I know Stephanie's online, and not all of our members are here, but even so, I think that's a notable fact to highlight. Thank you. Go ahead, Tyler.
Well said, Nick. I don't have anything except to follow up on something I inquired about last time and still don't see it on the agenda, but I'm hoping we can discuss and maybe consider a resolution related to Santa Rosa's potential or pending decision to roll back their own rules banning new gas stations. As Pete said, we're not taking this seriously enough, and that's a perfect example of a need to change culture. The very first time they get pushback on this this ordinance that was passed through a climate emergency, it looks like they are poised to go back on that rule or to soften those rules. So I would just like to see us discuss it and potentially look at a resolution or a recommendation.
Thanks, Tyler.
So in Cool Petalima's got some cool stuff going on. It's in the name. They've got a green business cohort where they're working hard to enroll businesses in the Sonoma County Green Business Certification Program and the state's Green Business Certification Program. We've got all these excellent programs out there, and the goal is to really use them. Our school district, the Petaluma City Schools, has worked on a climate action plan. If any of your school districts are working on theirs, we'd love to engage with that. And I appreciate the staff meeting with them last week or a couple weeks ago. Our new relatively new reuse hub at the Petaluma Outlet Mall is doing their spring swap on March 22nd from 2 to 5 p.m. The reuse hub is really excellent. Its focuses on reducing consumption through repair and reuse. They provide free repair services for kind of everything. They've got tool vending libraries. It's a really great model. And that's all I have.
For Cotati, we again have the climate action, I'm sorry, the Climate Ready Fair on March 28th at 10 a.m.
Neil Hancock, Cotati, all I'd report out is the proposed roundabout on 116 and West Katati has a preliminary landscape design done, not a sort of a full design, but I'm really looking at that for how pedestrians can safely cross that new bit of urbanizing Katati by Lowe's.
Great, and I'll, well, let Stephanie go. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Thank you. So Healdsburg hired towards the end of last year a new electric utilities director. So us in town in the climate movement gave him a few months to kind of get settled in, and then we set up a meeting this week to kind of grill him and found out pleasantly that he is really interested in he's got the same goals that we have in increasing solar in Healdsburg for our little publicly owned utility, including some ideas about having a community solar array, some more batteries, and just seemed really on the cutting edge as far as the new technology for renewables. So that was a really hopeful meeting. Climate activists met at the end of February for a meeting at a local art gallery and had tables and kind of talked about what we're all working on, different projects. So we're continuing to meet and continuing this this activism in the small ways that we can. I also really appreciate everyone's comments, report outs on what's happening in your towns. I'd also like to take this opportunity to say that after 3 years on this committee, I am resigning. So I've already told our board, our Healdsburg RCPA board member, Ariel Kelly, and thanked her for the opportunity. And I have been really enjoying learning from you all, especially the SCTCA staff. Thank you so much. I hope to continue learning from you all in the future. Thank you.
Well, Stephanie, that was too easy. I don't think we're going to let you go that easily. I just wanted you to know that your work's been appreciated too. In fact, I was recently talking about your idling work up in Healdsburg in the city of Sonoma, and we're hoping to kind of skate in your ski tracks on that one. And have you found a replacement, or is there any discussion about that yet?
I have not found one yet, though I've been asked to find one. So I'm searching. And yeah, I mean, I think Ariel invited me to or suggested that I join the committee because I did have a group of mom activists that I was doing projects with sort of on the side, and also appreciate that is sort of why I got into the climate movement, was because of my children. That said, moms are really busy, so I would love to find another mom to replace me on the board to keep speaking for women and people with children. But I haven't found one yet, but I will keep looking. And also, if I can share any help or information on the IDLE project, I'd be happy to do that. And my email is available to everyone.
Great, thank you so much. I'll report out on District 3 just briefly. Dr. Zeke Baker at Sonoma State University has requested a input from climate action members of the community. You may have something in your email box about that. If you just search by Zeke, you might find the email if you overlooked it, which is what I had to do. But he's going to be holding some focus groups of local climate activists to be determined. And in general, I'm looking at adaptation seeming to be driving a lot of our spending and our climate activity lately. For example, in January, State Route 37 flooded for over 11 hours. And the interim project that we are preparing to invest money in over there would not have actually stopped that flooding. Even with all the money we're planning to spend on the first phase of elevating the road through there, we'd still have had to close the road down, is my understanding from that group. And Supervisor Rabbit has indicated the need for a catastrophic road fund policy. He said, I think I want to quote, "Lakeville Highway is sinking into the mud." And so this is practically where we're at right now. In the city of Sonoma, point out that Caltrans is committed to making some traffic improvements, roadway improvements, but we've had in the last, I guess since January, a person riding a mobility scooter was hit on the state highway. And we had 2 tourists, one of whom I think was killed on Broadway just south of the city plaza. So there's, we need to make our roads safer. Also point out that Sonoma Clean Power, there's a lot going on at Sonoma Clean Power right now, but given and this is based on reading through the last meeting minutes, the default Sonoma Clean Power choice is now more costly than the PG&E base option. And that's got to do with the way the PUC stacked the deck against the regional community choice aggregators. And also because the board is actively in the process of updating their integrated resource plan, which is all the procurement that they're going to be doing for electricity. And they are asking for feedback right now on how important lowest possible rates are versus greener options. And the feedback they've got to date from the public and from their board is that no woody biomass, nuclear, or carbon capture and storage are in the portfolio proposed for this next period of procurement. So if you want to get involved in that, now is the time to speak up. They are getting into the self-generation business, interestingly, which is kind of risky in my experience, but they're moving forward on a 1.5 megawatt solar battery project on the Ukiah Superfund site and envisioning 100 megawatts of local generation by 2040. But they've lowered their green threshold to not 100%, but 85% as part of that 2040 planning horizon. So there's some nuances, and I've got my notes here say Sonoma 15% dirty power, but that's the glass half empty perspective there. Keep your eye out for balcony solar legislation this year in California's state legislature, and the Plan Bay Area 2050 plus final EIR is now out, and Metropolitan Transportation Commission is launching an incentives-based approach for encouraging transit-oriented development. So that's going to give your jurisdictions more motivation to build close to transit hubs. So that's get quick questions.
Just a comment, you mentioned balcony solar, and that's a statewide action, I think, and there are other statewide actions, and I'm wondering on that one in particular, and maybe on others, whether there's a role for this group in speaking in favor of those kind of things or doing something in favor of those kind of things. I just don't have enough insight on that to know.
Yeah, that would be something we might want to discuss. I know last meeting there was discussion about this body, I think Jake brought this up, having some role in scanning legislation and at least encouraging our county lobbying advocacy personnel to pay attention to certain bills. And I know we've done that a time or two in the past. The SCTCA board does every month do a legislative review, as does the Sonoma Clean Power Board. And so those are both, if you're hearing about a piece of legislation, James Cameron has announced that he's interested in hearing your feedback. So you don't have to wait for the next meeting. You can go straight to James. And if it's something that he believes is worth promoting to the board, then it could become something that they discuss. I'm sure that the advisory committee at Sonoma Clean Power or at Jeff Cyphers, this executive director, would similarly be interested in legislative ideas from members of the community.
Mr. Chair, just curious, Sonoma Water just had a day in the Capitol with their board members and senior staff talking to legislators. And that's a regular annual expedition that they make. And I haven't been following the activities of the SCTCA board closely, but is that an activity that staff and the board have? Is there a sort of annual trip to Sacramento?
I can briefly answer. I don't want to add something to our agenda that's not on our agenda, but yes, we do plan trips when our board feels that it's, there's a set of bills that the board wants to advocate for. We do have our contract with Politico Group, and they are in the Capitol on an ongoing basis and also relaying information and advocating for the organization. So we don't have a trip planned at this point, but not to say that might not happen later in the spring. So.
It certainly would be interesting for this committee, I believe, to get intelligence that's delivered through your contracts, that we would have access to these reports as well.
Absolutely. And the reports are presented to our board each month. And so if you look in our board packets, and we can send you a link to those, you'll see the full report and what bills are being tracked. So,
yeah, just an idea that it might be to be sure that there's a brief legislative moment in this roundtable, just so that folks are aware of any bills that the county has decided to just that list is available in our packet, so that folks that are climate interested could readily find that information. We'll work on that in the next agenda, perhaps. Andy, go ahead. We're running a little over, so let's keep it brief.
What sort of legislative ideas are being considered?
I think he would like to hear any climate or transportation related recommendations that you all have in terms of the state legislature. And what I would suggest also looking at our legislative principles, and we can also share that with the group, also posted online. And that really gives you a framework for what our board has prioritized that we want to advocate for. And they're fairly general in nature, but that would also give you a good sense of what's being looked for. So, and I'm happy to provide feedback as well. So.
Great. Thank you for the consideration, all of that. Now we'll move along to a presentation from Chris Barney, our comprehensive transportation plan update.
Good afternoon, everyone. See a lot of familiar faces in here. So happy to be here today to talk to you about our comprehensive transportation plan for Sonoma County. So we do have some slides. So while those are getting up, let me just get situated here. Okay, Don's getting those. So I'll be talking about our comprehensive transportation plan for Sonoma County today. We've given it the tagline Sonoma Moves 2050. So, and we released this for review back in January. So it's available up on our website. The staff report and materials that we provide links to access the draft plan and materials, including some recordings for a few different workshops that we've held and a searchable version of the project list for the plan. So with that, let's go ahead and dig in, but maybe I'll have Don walk through it. Let's go to the next slide. So starting with what the Comprehensive Transportation Plan is, or CTP for short, it's our high-level guiding document, which number one helps guide future funding and long-term planning decisions that we work on here at the authority. It identifies priority projects, policies, and programs, and looks at a shared vision for where we'd like our transportation to go in the future and how we'd get there. So it's also a pretty big reference document. So it includes a lot of information on current trends, demographics, demographics and statistics with a focus on transportation, but also looking at land use, since that's so highly related to transportation. And then finally, we include information on where we see things going in the future. So how we see Sonoma County growing and how that could change travel patterns and behavior in the county. So SETCA staff use this document frequently as a reference document, and local staff do as well. And just a few things to note, county plans like our CDP feed into the Regional Transportation Plan, which is known as Plan Bay Area in the region. And this current CTP update will feed into the next Regional Transportation Plan, which is tentatively named Plan Bay Area 2060 plus. So Chair Conlon, you mentioned Plan Bay Area 2050 plus being out for adoption. That's happening right now. Recommended for adoption and the EIR. So MTC will be working on the next plan kicking that off in the next year or so. So all of this work feeds into that regional plan that's used for the Bay Area as a whole. As an agency, we're also required to have an updated policy and planning document to help guide our transportation programming and funding decisions, and the CDP fills this role for our agency. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So we update the plan every 4 or 5 years to make sure it's still relevant and up to date and reflects the priorities and goals of our board of directors, you as advisory committees, and our local jurisdictions. So we build on the lessons we've learned for each past few plans. So this plan builds mostly from our plan that was adopted back in 2016 and our last plan that was adopted in 2021. So a lot of work there that feeds into this current effort. And as part of this planning effort, there are a few things that we really focused on. It was primarily technical. One, looking at that list of projects, so what the priorities are at the jurisdiction and county level to implement transportation improvements across the county, but also look at changing trends, right? So the last time we adopted this, it was in the middle of the pandemic. So travel trends and behavior have changed since then. So we've been working on this since the summer of 24. We have the draft out now. We'll be taking comments on the draft through March 23rd, and then using those comments to compile the final plan, which we're hoping to adopt in May or June of this year. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, Don. Okay, so here are the primary tasks that we focused on as part of this update. We really refreshed our public outreach. It's important to understand what priorities are across the county. So I'll talk a little bit about that in another slide. We also looked at our goals for the plan. And one thing we did is early in the process, we reported out on progress we'd made since the last CTP. So one of the focus of this effort. We also updated our performance analysis. So we use a number of technical tools like a travel model and data sets and forecasts to look at how the actions and projects in the plan can help us achieve our goals and vision. We updated the reference sections, so a lot of new information in there that's available to help with our planning and also other local planning. We updated the project list, so we have a big list of priority projects that we work with local agencies to compile. And so that's a big focus of each of these updates. And one thing that we'll be doing later this year is looking at short-term implementation of the plan. So the plan's looking out to 2050. So it's a relatively long planning horizon. We really want to look at what we can be doing in the next 5 to 10 years to move the needle to reaching our goals. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide and move on to our vision and goals. So these are statements that help direct our work at SETCA. So let's go ahead and go to the vision and start with that. So we work with our board of directors and advisory committees and local jurisdictions and the public to develop this vision as part of our last plan. We checked in with our board of directors and it's still relevant to the direction they want to go in. So we're sticking with this for now, but it really focuses on connecting people with where they want to go. So That key word is connections, and looking at accessibility. So everyone needs or wants to go somewhere, right? You need to go to work, school, want to visit friends. So that movement and accessibility is really important when we consider transportation. And it's also a key point of that is moving our transportation options and system to zero emissions by 2050. So another key point in our vision. And so there are 3 guiding principles that we would like to work towards in implementing this vision, including safety, equity, and quality of life. So let's go ahead and move to the goals, which provide a way of reaching that vision and making progress in each of those areas. So we have 4 different goals, really looking at how we want our transportation system to be here in the county. And the first is, again, looking at connections and reliability. So it's very important that people have those opportunities to get to where they want to go affordably and dependably. So key component that we are working towards. Number 2, very important that our transportation system is safe and well maintained. So very important to increasing that access, making it a good way to get around the county. Number 3, we have a lot of diversity in the county. We have urban, suburban, and rural communities, and we should be implementing projects that are not only looking at regional connections and regional movements, but looking at those local needs as well in each of those different types of communities. And then finally, very important that our transportation system should be zero emissions and moving towards that 2050 zero emissions target and goal. So let's move to the next slide. So I'll be covering in a very high level of detail what's in the plan. So encourage you to dig in to the plan as your interest allows and time allows. So it's not to be read from cover to back. So there are different chapters you can kind of bounce around and look at as your interest is piqued there. So let's go ahead and go to the different sections. We have 7 chapters in the plan and a number of appendices. So I'll be covering these in a little bit of detail in the following slides. So let's start with outreach and engagement. So as I mentioned before, we're building on a lot of the work that we've done in past plans. So, and I think a lot of us have been hearing about a concept called survey fatigue or outreach fatigue. So there are a lot of planning efforts and outreach efforts that are going on across the county and across the region. So people are being asked to respond to surveys, feedback on all sorts of different things. And people give answers all the time. So we want to make sure people are being heard and that we're being efficient and not asking the same things over and over again. So in order to collect effective outreach as part of this planning effort, we took kind of a 3-part approach to developing our outreach plan and implementing that. The first piece of that was looking at recent outreach that's occurred in the last 5 or 6 years, looking at different planning documents, outreach summaries. We had a long list of documents and reports that we looked through and identified major themes that kept coming up in the transportation area. And you can see a list of some of those on this word cloud on the right side of the slide here. But things like safety, maintenance, cost and time, transit, walking and biking kept coming up over and over again. So we wanted to make sure that we're capturing that information and not starting from scratch when we're asking people questions and about their priorities. The second thing that we looked at was our past CDPs, so what we've been hearing there, but also surveys that were conducted for Measure M and Go Sonoma, so our transportation funding measures. So you can see a list of priorities there. A lot of these are in line with what we're seeing in recent planning documents and outreach as well. So again, cost and time, the environment, maintenance and safety were all major themes that showed up there. So we took all of that information and used that to create our outreach approach for getting out in the community and talking to people and collecting new information. So we were able to be out in each of the communities in Sonoma County at least once. We held workshops, we tabled, we held pop-up events, and we also hosted another online survey and collected a lot of information. So let's go ahead and move on to what we heard. So this is broken into a few different pieces. The top kind of goes through the new, kind of the new things we were hearing as part of this field outreach that we'd conducted as part of this plan. And then the bottom part there compiles the new themes that we're hearing with the things that we've heard in the last 5 to 10 years as well. So the overall big issues that we're hearing from Sonoma County residents. So starting with new outreach, we heard a lot of support for public transit and active transportation, so not surprising. Again, focus on making travel safer. So again, that's come up in all these other efforts as well. And we hear it every time we're out in the community. We hear about unsafe driving, unsafe events, and how important it is to be able to get around and feel safe. We heard a lot of comments about we need to improve transit reliability and access to stations. So really addressing that first last mile to transit issue. We heard a lot of support for electrification and shift to EVs, but that we need better charging options and that affordability is an issue as well. So incentives were brought up a lot in the context of electric vehicles. A lot of interest in e-bikes and shared mobility, but a lot of opinions, right? It's kind of an issue right now. What's an e-bike is a big question, right? There's a lot of concern about safety, who's using it, what kind of regulations need to be in place, but definitely heard a lot of interest in this, and it's certainly an opportunity to continue to explore and improve our transportation system. We need to focus on equity in all we do in travel. And we heard that congestion is an issue, particularly in rural areas at certain times of the year and certain days. So those are kind of the new themes we heard. So looking at that with recent planning efforts and our past plans, the top 5 themes that we heard is people want to get around more efficiently and quickly. They want cleaner transportation options that are safe, cost less, and we need to maintain the valuable infrastructure that we have. All right, so let's go to the next section, Don. And the next section really talks about travel trends and demographics, so where people live in Sonoma County, where they want to go, and how that plays out in travel behavior. So this section pulls heavily from our travel behavior study, census, and other demographic and data sources, including the regional transportation plan, Plan Bay Area. So there's a lot of information in the actual chapter, but I've pulled a few highlights and put them up on the slide here. But the first of which is the fact that most trips in Sonoma County stay in the county. So if you're starting a trip here, it usually stays here. Most travel is still focused on vehicles, and a lot of that single occupant vehicles. We continue to expect the population to age in Sonoma County, so that has impacts on transportation and employment. And we're expecting relatively modest growth in the future. So you can see a chart here, which is from Plan Bay Area, which predicts a 13% increase in housing, which is roughly equivalent to population growth, and then around a 24% increase in jobs in the community. So all of that growth and where it happens impacts travel and travel behavior and impacts on our communities and environment. So let's go to the next section. So the next section is a very robust section on our existing transportation system, which is multimodal, and really shape how people move around the county. So it covers buses, roads, rail, active transportation networks, but also looks at emerging technologies and how those could be implemented and impact transportation in the county. So there's a wealth of information here. We refer to it all the time. There are a lot of statistics and charts and graphs in there. So hopefully that's valuable to you. It is to us. So a lot of good information in there. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So on to the project list. So the CTP project list collects transportation project and program priorities from our local jurisdictions across the county. It includes information on how much they cost, roughly when they could occur, and then detailed information about what the actual project is. So here's a high level look at what's included in that project list. There are over 300 discrete projects on the list. All of those are explained or described in some detail in the appendix, and there's an online version as well that you can sort and filter and search. But the estimated project cost for this CTP project list is just over $17 billion. So this is looking at priorities through 2050. And just under 5 billion of that is currently identified. So there's a pretty big gap in funding. And then the 5 largest projects from a cost perspective are shown up on the slide here. So there are a few adaptation projects in the Highway 37 corridor, a few smart rail projects, including looking to east-west rail capital improvements and connections, and then maintaining the largest road system we have in the county in the unincorporated areas. So a pretty big price tag to keep that maintained. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, Don. So this shows a breakdown of different types of projects that are in the plan. So you can see there's quite a diversity of different project types and modes. And one thing that I would mention is over the past 20 years, the makeup of these priority projects has really shifted over time. So in the early 2000s, there were much more roadway expansions and roadway projects, and that's really shifted to non-motorized, active transportation, transit, and new technology type projects. So quite a shift over time that reflects kind of the priorities of our board and communities here. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide.
So Chris, I want to be sure we get a few moments for questions.
Yep. Okay. Are we running short?
We are, yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll just leave this piece really brief then. There's a chapter that covers our performance assessment that really looks into the goals and vision and how we can get there. I'll just note a few things on here that really stood out. We tested all of the improvements in the plan, which represent a pretty big increase in transit service, 38%, which really pays off in pretty big ridership increases, 65%. And we tested our ability to hit that goal of reaching zero emissions by 2050, through the projects and vehicle fuel economy improvements that are, I guess, still in effect at the state level. We're not quite getting there. But if we can push that a little bit further through increased electrification and fuel economy, we've studied that we can probably get closer to that. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, onto implementation. I'll go through this very quickly. So next slide. So we've identified a number of opportunities that can help us make progress. The first of which, 60% of trips in the county are under 5 miles. So those are great candidates to shifting to walking, biking, and taking transit. I said most of our travel stays in the county, so we're pretty self-sufficient. So we can continue to improve those connections between our communities here. There's been a focus on city-centered growth in all of our communities. So you've probably seen a lot of that happen. And most of our projected growth is happening within urban growth boundaries and around transit stations. Looking at work from home, that's not necessarily reducing greenhouse gas emissions or VMT from what we've been seeing, but it has opportunities to shift travel around to less congested times of the day. And then emerging technologies could help in some areas too. But on to things we're up against. Our existing land use patterns pretty mature, and it's hard to get around without a car sometimes. We're still traveling mostly in vehicles. Emergency events like flooding, wildfire impact how people get around and damage our infrastructure. And we have that big gap in funding. So let's go to the recommendations. So we need more money. We need to continue to focus on equity. We need to continue that focus on building around transit stations and near where people want to go. We need to implement trip reduction strategies. We have a strategic travel demand management plan that has a lot of great ideas in there. So we need to continue to implement that. We have the opportunity to shift short trips to walking, biking, and active modes. We continue to find efficiencies, improve our fuel economies, shift freight to rail when opportunities arise. And I would emphasize thoughtfully implement transportation technology. So we need to do that right so we get benefits and not drawbacks from those. And then we need to look at what we can do in the near term as well as the long term. So let's look at the just wrapping up. We're taking comments through March 23rd. We're shooting for May to get our final out and together. That depends on how many comments we get. And then we'll be working on the short-term implementation plan in the summer and fall of this year. So there's a link to the landing page there with all the resources. So yeah, please reach out, provide comments if you have any, and appreciate the time to present today.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
So let's just keep this to be about 3-4 minutes because we need to give Anna and Tanya time to speak as well. Pete, I see your hand first.
Thank you, Chris. I would love to see the vision and goals that you were just enumerating widely publicized across the whole county so that the general population has a clear sense of where we're moving.
Yeah.
As it is, if we don't do that, people are left to infer from the little slow incremental changes that they see. They're left to infer where we're headed. And I'd love to see us accelerate the process by informing the public.
Great. Appreciate that. We'll work with Ross to try and get the word out more widely.
Zeno, did you want to? The red should be a green light.
I had 3 questions. One was about schools, dropping off kids, picking up kids, in semester creates a lot of traffic. But there doesn't seem to be any attention to it. I'm on the benefits. Part of the problem I see is that all these projects are locally initiated, right? And this seems to be a county-wide, not just an urban thing, but a rural thing. How do we have a project on Copenhagen County? The other question was about connection between buses and smart. I've been working on making that connection more fluid. I mean, you have the transit center separate, et cetera, from the smart thing. Are there any plans to make that more fluid? And the last question I have about drone delivery.
Yeah.
Is the county taking any protection on delivering freight to local residents by drone?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, if I may respond briefly. So on the schools drop off, that's a issue across the county. So we're certainly looking at that more through the Safe Routes to School program and planning, and as part of our Vision Zero activities as well. So we're definitely working on that. It's a known issue. So and trying to do the best we can and get schools or get kids to school, walking, biking, that can help take some of the load off that. But that is something we're working on. Countywide projects, we do propose SCTCA countywide projects as well. And there are a number of projects in the plan that are not just from one jurisdiction, but multiple jurisdictions proposing projects together. So that's definitely in there. The connections between buses and SMART, that's happening through our mascots and transit integration work. So certainly working on that. And there should be, there are changes coming in the next few months that will help increase and improve those connections. And then drone deliveries, I'm going to have to look into that. We don't have specific policies now, but it's something we should definitely watch. So I'll do a little research on that to see if I can find out if there's anything live with any jurisdictions.
Okay, and we'll just take one more from Andy, and others, please get your written comments to, or verbal comments after the meeting to Chris.
Pete get this out to the vision of Chris, what avenues you use to do that, this committee and people like that pictures for him didn't know you were doing so what they
We use all of our traditional menus, and maybe I'll see if Ross wants to weigh in a little bit on this. We use all of our advisory committees, local newsletters, and that's one of the and social media sites. So I know at least a portion of our local jurisdictions have shared this on their websites, their socials, on their newsletters. So
This question is pretty well answered in the plan to my satisfaction right now. You guys have done a pretty good job, in my opinion, of pulling together. It's a generationally better plan than the last version, in my opinion. So I do encourage everybody to parse through it, and you'll be engaged with more specifics on these kinds of questions. You may have good advice for what's missing right now in the outreach camp strategy, but it's a great platform for us to be working from, in my opinion. All right, I'm going to ask.
Logistical question, Mr. Chair. Is hard copy available for those of us who prefer hard copy over electronic devices?
we can certainly print one out for you, Mr. McKenzie.
It's a draft plan, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. Just a request. Thank you.
Okay.
Next, if I could ask Anna to give us her update on the BayREN matters. Item number 6.
And I would just tell her to double check that your mics are on. I know we kind of turn them on and on, but you want the green if possible. Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and happy Friday. Anna Oliva. Again, I am with SCTCA, and I'm our Bay Area Regional Energy Network, or BayREN local representative. All right, just a quick look at our agenda. I'm going to give a brief refresh on what BayREN is and how it operates in the county and throughout the region. Excited to share a great update on our Ease Home program, which is our single family program, and then I'll give a quick snapshot looking ahead at some of our events. All right, so BayREN is a coalition of the 9 Bay Area counties and the Association of Bay Area Governments. We receive our funding from the CPUC Public Purpose Charge, which dictates how we can spend our funding. And through this partnership, we're able to serve residents, businesses, and local governments throughout the Bay Area through our 9 programs, which are aimed at promoting energy, water, and greenhouse gas reduction strategies. So we do this through our programs, trainings, educational resources, and technical support. And so what this looks like for Sonoma County specifically is SCTCA serves as our local representative, and we partner closely with organizations like County of Sonoma Energy and Sustainability Team, who provides us support through marketing and outreach. So you'll probably see them often. All righty. Very excited to share an update on our single family program today. And just wanted to kick off with a quick refresh. So the Ease Home program supports a range of essential upgrades to improve home comfort, really focused around weatherization, energy efficiency. And so the audience for this program is moderate income residents living in single family homes. I do like to highlight that though we do aim to serve moderate income households, because we've noticed that's a gap in the general single family space, lower income households are also able to apply and actually have been really high participants in the program. I'll go into that in a few slides. The program also serves renters, and I want to highlight that ADUs can be eligible. We get asked that question pretty often, but it's addressed on a case-by-case basis for approval for the program. What's really great about our single family program is that it provides really comprehensive service for homeowners. So this includes fixed pricing, a direct install model, and really walking with the homeowners through a step-by-step process from project planning, really understanding what those upgrades are and what the impact for the home can be, because many people probably don't know the true value of attic insulation, but hopefully they will after their site visit. And really bundles together the project planning, identifying rebates that are available, and help support through pulling permits for the process. Another great part about our single family home is that the customer can expect just to pay 20% of the total project cost, which is capped at $1,000 for copay. And again, just taking you through a quick look at the customer journey. So first is really checking to see if you qualify, which is mainly based on income eligibility. I'll touch on that in the next slide. Scheduling your site visit, which is a complimentary in-home site visit to evaluate the potential upgrades with one of our program energy advisors. After the site visit's completed, our energy advisor will go through a visual income verification. So that could be showing like your tax return, for example. That's a really common one. But you don't actually have to hand off anything. And our energy advisor will provide customized recommendations to talk through for the customer. And finally, working to schedule a time to do the upgrade installations, handling any of the behind the scenes things. Again, I mentioned permits just because that typically comes up as a big pinch point for people and getting their projects over the finish line. And finally, having the homeowner be able to enjoy a more comfortable home and some energy savings as well. Again, just a quick refresh on who qualifies for this program. So it is a single family program with requiring that homes be built before 2010 to qualify. I mentioned tenants can participate in the program. It does require landlord approval. You must be a PG&E customer. And I do want to highlight for City of Healdsburg specifically because they are their own electric utility provider. The home just needs to receive PG&E gas. And again, this is a moderate income program. So we're looking at 120% AMI, and that chart you see there is Sonoma specific data. And again, the program is open to lower income households. Just a quick look at some of our core measures that are included in the program. Again, really focused on weatherization, energy efficiency, and health and safety improvements. So weatherization aims to focus on heating and cooling of the home, providing improved insulation, duct sealing or replacement, and whole home air sealing. Also excited to share that rolling out, starting this month, induction cooking will be included as one of our core measures, which is really exciting for the program. Other energy efficiency upgrades can be incorporated into the project scope, such as smart thermostats and weather stripping, really aimed at reducing energy use and lowering bills. Also want to note that health and safety upgrades that are necessary for completing the weatherization upgrades can be included. You'll see in a few slides that pest sanitation and remediation have been pretty common for some of our measures for the homes. And again, in order to meet that bare minimum eligibility, you just need to have either attic insulation, duct sealing replacement, or wall insulation, which isn't as common just because it's invasive, but it is noted as a core measure, and soon induction cooking to qualify for those other energy efficiency measures. And just looking at a quick snapshot of some of our projects to date throughout the region, Sonoma's been doing a really wonderful job. We've seen really strong participation in this program, considering it did start in the end of July for Sonoma specifically. To date, we have 87 projects completed, with the first year project goal being 100 projects. I do want to note that we have a little over 20 projects right now that are just in the process of completing installation. So well on to meeting our goal for this year. And a quick look at the average incentive cost. Again, like to highlight Sonoma County, but you can see for the other counties as well, the goal is to cover at least 80% of the project cost. And for Sonoma County right now, we're covering about 87% of that project cost. I hope you're as excited to look at the measure categorization as I am. But yeah, you can see a quick overview of the measures that are included. Again, in that darker blue is our core measures for the program. So again, that's insulation, duct replacement. We also have seen a lot of people interested in having those secondary measures that aren't necessarily required, but definitely are key for a strong project. And then also just wanting to note that health and safety remediation have been pretty common throughout our program, and it's kind of something that's unique to our single family program compared to other programs that are out there. And so again, if you're looking on the right, the 79% of EE measures, not surprising, core measures that are required for program participation. But again, health and safety measures are something that we're hoping to continue to build into other project scopes moving forward. Just a quick look at a more detailed breakdown. Attic insulation has by far been the most popular core measure that's been included, followed by deeply buried ducts. And then whole home weather stripping and air sealing have also been common. And if you look at that little yellow bar in the middle there, pest-related attic sanitation and insulation removal, I do want to note that if you do have a pest problem, this program is not to address that for the whole house. I really want to highlight the language around sanitation. And so it is addressing any insulation that's been damaged by pests, sanitizing the space and replacing the insulation there specifically, not whole home pest control. But still really valued, and we heard a lot of really wonderful feedback from program participants for that specifically. And then just looking at our household income analysis here, again, this is for data throughout the region, but really I think is a good reflection of Sonoma County as well. And what we're really seeing here is that a lot of low to lower income households are really excited to participate in this program. And we're not seeing as strong of participation in moderate income households as we would have expected. So that's definitely something that we'd like to expand some of our education around moving forward, and definitely increase participation there and get a better understanding of why aren't people participating in this program if they do qualify, and they've typically been left out of other programs because of income eligibility. Alrighty, I'm trying to do a speed round, so I have time for questions, but wanted to give a quick look at some of our upcoming activities. Definitely not all of our activities because there's a lot to cover, but we're looking forward to partnering with a lot of the jurisdictions and community partners for Earth Day events and climate events coming up. Also want to highlight that we have our National Association of Realtors Green Designation Training, which will be offered May 19th and 20th. And this is a great opportunity for realtors. It's a free 2-day training to learn more about green real estate concepts, a bit of the building sciences incorporated into that, principles, practices, and really helping realtors communicate the benefits of improving their home, improving clients' homes before and after sale. So helping with some of the language around that, and I think getting over that little education barrier is there, recognizing that it's kind of a pinch point for upgrading your home more often than not at point of sale. Also, I think last on the list here is through our workforce and education training. We partner with Rising Sun Center for Opportunity. And this year, I'm excited to share that we do have an in-person site office for our Rising Sun youth to do greenhouse calls. And what that is our youth energy advisors would come into your home, do some not as invasive upgrades as our Ease Home program, but really weather stripping, light bulbs are involved in there. And it's
Countywide?
Countywide, yep.
Through what period of time? Through just June and July?
Yes, through June and July. But signups will be starting soon. And our goal is to be able to serve at least 200 homes this year for that. A new measure that's going to be included is a little induction top as well. So I would be interested myself in that. And it's a new measure this year. So not on the list, but also just want to note that we'll be doing increased engagement with multifamily properties, hoping to have some workshops later in the summer to improve participation in that throughout the county again. And then we're looking to engage with chambers of commerce and organizations affiliated with businesses moving forward to promote our business program and BRRR program, which is our refrigerant replacement program. And lastly, for real this time, we have our upcoming forum through our Codes and Standards program. This is going to be highlighting data centers and addressing some of the concerns throughout the region for sustainability. We'll talk a little bit about concerns about rate affordability and what role local governments can play for this. So again, this is next Wednesday from 9 to 12. It's a virtual event and free to register.
Thanks, Anna.
Yeah.
Any questions for Anna? Great programs, great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll move on now to Tanya's going to give us an update on the climate mobilization strategy and how we're going to be revising that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as soon as the slides are up and running. All right, so thank you for this opportunity to give an update on what we're planning to do for the mobilization strategy update. And yeah, all right. Before I launch in, I just want to acknowledge the comments and concerns that I've heard from the group today and in past meetings about urgency and the need to take action with more focus and intention. I definitely feel that myself. And one of the questions that I'm asking myself, I think the team is asking ourselves, is how can we use this mobilization strategy update process as a way to increase focus and attention and action around climate? So want to acknowledge that we're going through a planning process here, updating a plan, but I think we can also use this as an opportunity to get more public education out as we're going out and doing our community engagement, that there are ways to increase the amount of information that we're sharing and hopefully increasing the sense of urgency. So I welcome thoughts from this group on how we can do that more effectively. Is it? All right, so I'm going to give a brief background and then the proposed update to the strategy and really try to be mindful of my time. This slide just shows the journey that we've been on from a planning perspective, acknowledging that all of the jurisdictions did adopt climate emergency resolutions. We've had our first strategy adopted in 2021 that led to a number of efforts by our board of directors to look at ways to increase funding to support implementation of the mobilization strategy. And along the way, periodically, we are doing our countywide GHG inventory update, which BC will give you a brief update on at the end of the meeting. And we are in the process of doing another update to help inform the mobilization strategy update that we're working on now. So just a quick reminder of what's in the strategy. And I think one of the key pieces here is just the reminder that we did set a goal of carbon neutrality by 2030. We're in 2026. I'm fairly certain that when we see our next round of inventory results, we're not going to see that we're on a path to meet that 2030 goal. So that in itself is a very sobering piece of information. So we really need to look at these strategies in light of that goal. And do we need to make any adjustments to our goal for 2030? And that's something that staff and our board will be taking a look at with input from all of you. So in terms of our kind of why are we doing this now? One reason obviously is that it's been a number of years since the first strategy was adopted, and it really is time to take a step back and look and see at what climate progress we've made since we adopted the mobilization strategy in 2021. Second, we really want to align the targets and the goals in our strategy with what we've seen unfold across Sonoma County, also at the regional level and the state level. Because if you were to look at all of the different climate action plans today, you would see that they have different goals and objectives and targets. And we really want to try and, at least in our strategy, reflect a more unified look at those strategies and goals. And so you see here, not meant to be all inclusive, but these are some of the key plans that we'll be taking a look at and understanding what each jurisdiction has set as its own goals in the climate action plans. And then next, we've received feedback over time and recognize ourselves that there are a couple of areas that have not been addressed or addressed sufficiently in the mobilization strategy. So the areas of agriculture and water, and then just the general topic area of climate adaptation and resilience. As we get further and further down the path where we're heading and not reducing our emissions fast enough, we will continue to see more impacts from an adaptation and resilience standpoint. And so what additional strategies, goals, actions do we need to be looking at to address issues in those areas? And then lastly, and I think probably most importantly in terms of getting ourselves into action, is what are those priority projects for multi-jurisdictional funding and action? So how can we work together more effectively across the county on some really big projects that would have an impact in any of the areas of the plan? So the project scope, we plan to report on climate progress made in Sonoma County since adoption of the mobilization strategy, update our goals and objectives, as well as the overall vision. We want to be able to describe how the work of all of our partners and our jurisdictions is combining to help us meet our climate goals. We want to continue to incorporate best practices and solutions. So new ideas and solutions have come along since this strategy was first adopted, and we'd like to incorporate those. And then aligning the targets, as I mentioned earlier, and identifying the high impact multi-jurisdictional actions and strategies to actually fund implementation. In terms of our schedule, we've launched the update with a presentation to our board in February. We plan to complete the inventory update and our kind of review of existing conditions by June. We'll be doing community engagement beginning with some of the events that are taking place around Earth Day, Earth Month, March through July. We plan to have a draft vision and goals shared with this committee as well as our other SCTCA committees and our board in July or by July. We'll be using the feedback from all of these, our outreach and engagement, as well as feedback from all of you to develop draft strategies, goals, and objectives by October. Envision another round of community engagement when we have something more solid to share, with a goal of presenting a draft strategy to our board and committees by March of 2027 and a final strategy by June of 2027. So we've really tried to accelerate the process so that we can produce something that's valuable, but also not spend 2 or 3 years in a planning process and not producing any results. So with that, I will turn it back to the chair and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you, Tanya. Any comments or questions on this? Zeno?
Yeah, I hear that there's a super Nina predicted. Is there any way for the organization to more rapidly respond to public awareness about climate caused by local events?
You mean in terms of communicating the impacts or?
Well, it gives opportunities in the press. It's people are excited about it or interested. And I wonder whether there could be more a plan that has like a jumping point into what actually happened in the county.
Yeah, so making connections between what we're seeing happening out in the world with the weather and climate change, and making that connection here locally.
Right.
I would say yes, and I would love to have any inputs this group has on how to do that effectively. It's very challenging, as you all know. There's a lot of different channels and information that people are dealing with, and so finding a way to communicate more effectively is definitely open to your feedback on how to do that.
Andy?
Thanks for the presentation, Tanya. The thing that gives me heartburn, so you say you want to align with the local goals and targets. The discrepancy between what a council votes for and then what the consultant comes back with in the climate action plan makes me crazy. Santa Rosa City Council voted for carbon neutral by 2030, for example. But then the climate action plan report says the target is 40% reduction below 1990 levels by 2030, 40%, and 85% by 2045. And there was a lot of people that worked really hard to get the carbon neutral by 2030 goals into the record. So which goals will you align with? And I think everybody's acknowledged that the climate emergency is rising quickly. The fact that the 37 was closed for 11 hours everything we always think about climate change is always much worse than we expected. So pushing off the targets farther and farther just seems crazy. If you could speak to that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so I think our first step is really to understand what those differences are and to surface those. And we will be working with an ad hoc committee of our board to kind of be a sounding board and help us, look at where these discrepancies are and what is that telling us about what goal we want to set for the organization and for our plan. So I can't say today which way that body will lean, but I think there's also our board looking at what do we have the resources to accomplish in the near term and versus longer term. And I imagine that's what's weighing into like Santa Rosa's greenhouse gas reduction strategy, really needing to show what the city is actually able to commit to with its resources, recognizing that we need to do so much more. But yeah, the difference between, I think, an aspirational goal and what a jurisdiction is able to do with its own resources. So, and there is a gap for sure.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for launching this. This is going to be this is the question we're going to have to try and resolve over the next 6-8 months. So I have some ideas, but I'll be feeding those in writing probably. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we'll be moving on now to, I believe Ross is going to give us an update on our favorite topic, the Brown Act.
Yeah, you may actually like this update. We'll see. So this is kind of a big one, and I'm going to try to go fast because of our time, but this is an action item. So if you're going to bolt, hang tight just a second, just because we are going to want to vote on this. So I've got a presentation. So basically, I'm going to give a quick overview of some updates to the Brown Act that happened recently, and we are kind of on sort of on the forefront of this. The county, we've had our legal counsel working with this, but a lot of committees have not taken this step yet. But we want to just tell you what SB 707 means for this advisory committee. And we're going to see if you want to adopt these provisions for the CAAC. I think if you just click on it once, then I'll be in there. Maybe. Possibly. So just a little bit, the Brown Act ensures government meetings are open and transparent. That's the first thing. But also public access participation is big. The good news is we have been doing online virtual commenting and participation, since COVID. So that luckily is not a big one, but we are Brown Act advisory. See, Adam Garcia raised his hand. Can it wait, Adam, or do you want me to jump in? I see it went down. Let's see. Whoops. Okay, so SB 707 updates and consolidates teleconferencing rules under the Brown Act, gives a clearer framework for remote participation, and provides additional options for advisory bodies like the CAAC, which is authorized through 2030. Next slide, please. Yeah. So eligible bodies, basically these requirements applies to bodies that are advisory only and do not take final action. That is us. Certain topics like elections, budgets, taxes, and police oversight are excluded. However, our legal has determined, just for folks who are involved with it as well, that the Citizens Advisory Committee is also eligible, even though it does deal with taxes. That is not its only purpose. And next slide. So these are the committees that do apply if you're involved in any of the other ones. And then go to the next one. So the requirements, and this is kind of, I think, the meat of it here. So committees must approve teleconferencing at an in-person meeting. And what that allows is that members can participate remotely, including, contributing to quorum, voting. There will still need to be a physical meeting location. I will probably bring less snacks. I've already tried to wean you guys off, but so basically there will still be this room. We will be in this room. You're welcome to come here, but you can also join virtually. And so basically what, the requirements are that you must keep, like we had Stephanie do today, camera must be on. You got to disclose if other folks are there. All votes would be roll call. The public would still be able to participate as they did before. The big thing, and why I made it red, was just if sudden technical difficulties can take the meeting down, basically. So if you have, remote access stops working, no action can be taken. Luckily, we've been pretty stable.
Conversation can continue, but actions can't be taken.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. The meeting would, I guess it would transfer to like a committee of the whole, I assume. I may have to check that with legal, but like voting on something like this, you could not, if suddenly you have access issues. But you don't need, the big thing, don't need a quorum in the room. You can attend fully virtually and vote and participate in the discussion. We will have a bit of a learning curve managing this amount of folks since we are doing the webinar format as requested by legal. So we will be kind of figuring this out, but the requested action is to vote on utilizing the new SB 707 teleconferencing provisions. If approved, the May meeting would be under these, and you could choose to attend virtually or in person. And the authorization would need to be renewed every 6 months, but I believe that is done. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's, I got to double check if that's the committee or if that is the actual board, because the board is under some slightly, they have some more leeway. I'm happy to talk about that, but I presented that to the board last week. So thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions, but we will ask that you do take a vote on this item. And I'm just, as an aside, we talk a lot about attendance. I just personally, I really hope this allows for everyone to be able to attend who wants to attend. I know we have some folks with mobility issues, things like that. I really hope that opens that up. And actually, SB 707, even aside from that, has some new disability provisions. So we hope that that helps.
Great.
But any question
for a motion? Andy?
I move we vote to authorize this.
Pete, second. We'll go to the roll call now, please. Perhaps I'll try to lead the roll call. Jake McKenzie?
Aye.
Zeno?
Aye.
David? Pete?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Aye.
Ryan? Neil?
Aye.
And Stephanie?
I'm here virtually to vote in the affirmative.
And I vote as a yes as well. That's a unanimous of all those assembled today. So thank you for that. And we will just squeeze it under the wire. BC, why don't you give us a quick update on GHG inventory and any other SCTA, CA staff?
Wonderful, thank you. And I know we're short on time. I think I can keep this to 90 seconds or less. This is actually a very nice follow-up to the presentation Tanya just gave on our climate mobilization strategy update. 3 pieces of that I'm working on behind the scenes that feed into that is We are currently updating our greenhouse gas inventory that we do for countywide for the entire community and all the jurisdictions. I'm currently working on that and have data requests out for a number of data that inputs to that. Two of the key improvements we're hoping to make to the system this time is looking further into the transportation numbers to attempt to extract out electric vehicle and hybrid use so that we can extract out their kind of electricity usage that's being counted underneath kind of buildings right now, even though it's EVs. And so it's kind of thinking about from an accounting perspective, how to account for that. We're also hoping to work with an outside consultant to do a quick review of our water sector calculations to just confirm that those are being done correctly and kind of take another look at that. Secondarily, beyond the greenhouse gas inventory update, I should point out, we've made a decision to continue to do that update for this current year using our existing Excel-based tools, the exact same protocols and methodologies we've been using for all the previous updates. I've also been investigating software that's available from ICLEI called ClearPath 2.0, and I believe I spoke to this group about it in the past. We're continuing to investigate and work with the development team there and hope to eventually use the software. Our first step would be to moving that historical data over. There's also functions within that software that will allow us to catalog key climate actions, link them to our emissions inventory, and associate kind of indicator data with those. So that's a move that we are going to be making over the next kind of year to year and a half, but we decided that there was too much work basically to make that move in the very short term. So we're kind of focusing on the Excel-based inventory and then kind of looking at how we scale that up using the ClearPath software. And then the last piece of it, if we think of about the community inventory as being the highest level, ClearPath as being kind of in a middle ground. At a more detailed level, I'm also beginning conversations with a number of jurisdictional staff looking at how we could provide some more kind of project tracking facilities, really getting down to the level of what are specific projects that have climate impacts that are in need of funding. And this then ties in with some other collaborative and coordinated funding work that Tanya has been leading, trying to pull together jurisdictions and community-based organizations looking at additional funding efforts. So there's several different software pieces that we could use for that. But this was kind of in general mentioned very earlier by Andy. We had a conversation with Petaluma City Schools. They're also kind of, even though they're not one of our members, they're not kind of not directly involved with our work. If we're able to get this system set up, a school district or something could use this system, and we just kind of have their data in the system, but maybe not reported as part of our official results of jurisdictional work. So greenhouse gas inventory update, ClearPath 2.0, and then additional project tracking tools that we're kind of working on additionally. So that's all I had to report.
Well, that's great. Any questions for BC or anything else before we adjourn? Then, I do have a question. Will the presentation that Tanya showed and Anna's, I think it was Anna's presentation, will those be appended to or sent to the committee?
I'm happy to send those out to the committee.
Without further ado, good afternoon.
There we go.